All right. So I'm a little bit late today. Kind of forgot, honestly, about streaming because I just have been so checked out with work. And also, there's just not much to talk about media wise right now, which is, kind of a bummer. Like, normally, there's at least a movie coming out soon or something just came out. I mean, Squid Game 2 just came out, but I kind of talked about that last week already. And there's just not dick coming out. So, yeah, this will probably be a pretty short one. I think the only thing that I've even seen coming out soonish is that werewolf husband movie or whatever the fuck with the girl from Ozark. Didn't look particularly good. So I've just been kind of binging on Hunter x Hunter and um, reading a little bit. I was actually just reading Lookism before I came on here. Lookism's pretty good. It's on Netflix. It's only 8 episodes, but it's based on a webtoon, and the webtoon is on chapter like 500 something. So the story's gradually gotten like crazier and crazier, but I've enjoyed it, and I feel like it's hopefully coming to an end. But it's definitely a neat idea. The main guy has two bodies. Well, he's just suddenly given a second body, and his second body is like super pretty and good looking, and his original body is like a little ugly fat boy who gets bullied like pretty badly. And yeah, it's a neat idea. So yeah, that's kind of what I've been up to. Really, not much. Um, I watched that Carry On movie with Jason Bateman. Not sure if any of you guys have seen that one. Hey, what's up? Hey, Mr. Divine and Jay. Yeah, I know. I like reading webtoons and manga, light novels, sometimes real books. I like Red Rising a lot. Um, Mr. Divine, I think I said last time, but make sure you ask me on Discord to add you to the member request chat so you can put it there before I forget. I've already taken care of Tyler's for the month. I still haven't watched Jay's yet, but I mean his is only a movie, so that's not time consuming. At least the watching part. The video kind of depends on how much I like it or hate it, or kind of also just how much time I have for it. But yeah, I've done like, I don't know if you guys had time off for the holidays at all. Whoops. I didn't even know you could pay money for Discord. Although actually there is like a nitro mode or something that you can pay for, but I don't know what that does exactly. Like I actually had to have a decent amount of help setting up Discord, my own Discord, even though I had one for a couple of years just because I hardly use it. But it is free. But if you don't feel like downloading it, you can always just tell me here or just comment on a video, just somewhere that I can see it and go back to it if I need to. But yeah, I don't know if you guys had time off for the holidays or not. I ended up with uh because I'm a construction engineer, and the contractor with Christmas and New Year's being on a Wednesday. They took 2 full weeks off. So I worked Monday and Tuesday of each of the last 2 weeks. And then obviously I had the holidays off, but then I had PTO that I had to use. So I've ended up working like just Monday, Tuesday the last 2 weeks and having quite a bit of time. Oh, you had time off too? Nice. Yeah, I never know what with some people's jobs how much time they'll take or how much time they'll have. Like me having the leftover PTO, I kind of didn't have a choice but to take time off. So yeah, I've just been kind of watching TV, worked on some video shit, obviously. Um, Caught up on a few anime shows. I watched Blue Lock. That one is like cheesy as shit. It's the soccer one, the soccer anime. It's like super over the top and cheesy, but I still like it. It's just a fun show. Um, and then I watched this one called The Healer. What I you know how anime is with these long ass titles. Something like The Healer who was banished from his party is in fact the strongest. And that one had a neat idea and like some pretty cool world building. But there's a couple times where it does like the anime main character thing where he's just kind of a pussy. So I thought the world was cool. The characters were just kind of okay. Like one of the one example that really sticks out is the main characters in this party that treats him like shit, and it's two girls and a guy. They banish him, which is obviously the title of the show, and they're total pieces of shit. Like he finds out they were ripping him off. They were renting a house and making him sleep in the closet. Because essentially the idea is that he's just a shitty healer with no real abilities. So they kick him out of their group and no one wants to be in a party with him. And later on, he ends up helping them just to be nice, which is fine. I don't mind that part. But then he, like the one girl in the group is actually really nice, and you can tell that she's kind of like peer pressured into not being nice to him. And she's like clearly the youngest. So he ends up helping them. And they so he helps them beat this Hydra because that's what they're struggling with. And they and the guy is like, okay, well, the girl that you're with now, because he's in a 2-man party with this girl that he saved when he was younger, and he didn't recognize till later. So they're in a party together, and he's like, well, since she's just like your sex slave, and the other girl didn't do anything, even though she got like knocked unconscious and almost killed, and then the other two people did more fighting than he did, he's like, we'll just split it 3 ways between the piece of shit guy, the piece of shit girl, and the main guy. And it turns out that the other guy that joined their party worked for the guild, and they were gonna sell off the other girl in the party as like they were gonna sell her off as like a sex trafficking or child trafficking. And the main guy, instead of just letting them be submitted to forced labor for life, is like, no, why don't you give him a second chance? And it's like, fuck you. Like, I that kind of shit I just do not like in anime. And I don't know why. I mean, not that it can't work sometimes. Like, I think in Don Machi it actually works pretty well because of the character and kind of the context. But in most of the time, it's like, oh, this person did like a horrific thing, but it has some kind of excuse. So can we just give him a second chance? And it's like, eat a dick. Most of the time. Every once in a while it works. A show that actually was really good about that came out recently was The World's Greatest Talker one. And that one, the main character is ruthless to people who are evil. Mr. Divine says, "Come on, he's the hero." I know, but you don't have to be like. I mean, I don't even know if naive is the right word. Like, if you're not willing to throw someone in jail for child trafficking, I mean, at what point is that like you're endorsing the behavior or going along with it or allowing it? I mean, I know that's one of the things that people will talk about in some situations with Batman, where it's like, if you arrest these guys 10 fucking times, power of friendship. If you arrest these guys 10 times and they just keep escaping and keep killing people, like at some point, by not killing them, you're, I don't want to say helping, maybe complicit would be a better word. And anime does it a lot. And I know you're joking, Mr. Divine. You're probably actually right that because a lot of the protagonists are usually like 14, 15 and kind of wide-eyed optimist, that probably is why they do it. But yeah, it's just one of those things that gets on my nerves. Like, yeah, Jay said complicit after. Yeah, well, I was ahead of you in time, so I guess that is a little bit unfair to say I said it first, but I know, yeah, and yeah, so yeah, Jay knew exactly what my point was. I don't know, and plus, I actually think in a lot of ways it makes your story just more interesting overall. To be like, okay, like the hero has a line that he won't let people cross. No, I know. Mr. Divine says, to be fair about Batman, the villains are iconic and they can't just keep creating new ones because it won't cut it. No, I know. I'm guessing. I don't read comics. That would probably be more of an issue in the comics, I would guess, than the movies. Because the good thing for the movies is a lot of time well, first of all, you'll only get 2 or 3 of the same Batman right before they reset. And then, you can justify it as like a new start. So it's not really quite the same. But also, for the movies, do they bring anybody back? I know Scarecrow comes back in Dark Knight Rises. I'm trying to think if any villains actually come back though. Like throughout the live action trilogies. Or do they usually arrest them and that's just kind of the end of their story? Because I would imagine it's more of an issue for like TV or comics than movies necessarily. Just because of the nature of a trilogy of movies. Yeah, Mr. Divine says the movies usually kill the villains. Well, that too. And even that one, I remember people were kind of like debating at the time was Batman with Ra's al Ghul, where he was like, I don't have to, or I'm not going to kill you, but I don't have to save you. And like the argument about whether or not that's like kind of a technicality. Like, if you have the capability of saving someone to just let them die, like, is that the same as killing them? And people were like pretty heated about it from what I remember. I mean, that was almost 20 years. It was 20 years ago at this point, wasn't it? So yeah. I mean, even the movies, I guess they do put it into a bit more of a gray area. But then, like, if Heath Ledger hadn't died, I wonder if Joker would have come back. I mean, it sounds like that's what the plan was, but I don't know if that's ever been confirmed or just kind of the assumption is that Joker was going to make a return of some kind. And then obviously with Heath Ledger dying, that all got scrapped and they moved on to Bane and all that. Although, funnily enough, or kind of random, I guess, my cat's name is Bane, but it's for Darth Bane from Star Wars, not Batman Bane, which I think is what probably more people think of. especially with Bane, being in a couple movies. And obviously Darth Bane hasn't been on screen of any kind other than like a 30-second spot in like the half season of Clone Wars that didn't finish. Oh, Joker was gonna be the judge in the movie instead of Scarecrow. Okay. Nerd alert. Yeah, the Darth Bane trilogy is like really good Star Wars books if you're into reading. It has probably my favorite lightsaber scene is in the first Darth Bane book, because it's just such a good scene the way it's done and like the amount of just character that it shows. I actually did a video about it a while ago, but I doubt many people watched it because it's about a fucking Star Wars book, which obviously those are all decanonized now. I mean, is that not just like the epitome of what Star Wars has done? Like, make the Darth Bane books, which are some of the fan favorites, not canon. Meanwhile, like, reinstill Darth Bane as like the whole rule of two in the Clone Wars cartoon in like a throwaway scene. Like, that is just such typical Disney Star Wars. Yeah, well, my wife named her cat Nala when it was born. That was just her though. That wasn't me. And my dog's names are Tally from Mass Effect and Zod. Obviously, as in General Zod. So yeah, I guess I picked all kind of nerd names for my pets if you want to look at it that way. Although Star Wars is kind of mainstream now to be called nerdy. I mean, I guess comics too, if thinking about Zod. I mean, there's been like, what, like 8 Superman movies at this point or something? I think there was 4 Christopher Reeve ones. You had the Zack Snyder trilogy, if you want to count those. You had the Brandon Routh one with Kevin Spacey as Lex Luthor. Push my glasses up. And then we have the James Gunn one coming out in a few months, which I've seen people like also really heated over that. And I don't really have any strong feelings yet. I mean, there's one trailer, and we still don't even know the plot line. I know we talked about it last week, but yeah, I guess I just don't getting like worked up about trailers like that until the movie comes out. Before Zod and Ready My Tuna. Yeah, my animals are idiots, just like everybody's. They the dogs are about, I don't know. Zod is like 40 pounds ish, and Tally is like 70. And they both have dog beds in our offices because we were both remote employees for a while. And Bane will just straight up walk into Tally's bed with her, just like spoon. Little 15-pound cat. You know how dogs are. Tally just looks at him like, the hell's going on? But yeah, anyway. Have you guys seen anything coming out that you're excited for? I saw that show Severance is coming out. I believe is that on Apple. I haven't seen the first season, but I've heard people talk about it, and it seems pretty well received. I think Silo season 2 is also coming out, or is in the process of being out or whatever. That's another one that I've heard good things about. I just never watched. The stuff on Apple TV really gets lost to me. I actually do have a login from an in-law, but it's I just kind of forget about it. I guess because it's like the smallest one, or well, I don't know if it's necessarily the smallest as much as it comes with like every Apple TV, but no one cares enough to watch anything on it. So either like in effect, it's the smallest. Kind of like sort of like how Prime probably has the most subscriptions just because of the shipping component, but I don't know how many actual viewers Prime gets, like annually or anything. Oh yeah, 28 years later, I need to watch the first two. I figure I'll probably just wait till a bit closer to the movie. Oh, Nosferatu, that is that a weird one? Did you see it, Jay? Because from what I can tell, a lot of people seem to like really be praising like the filmmaking components, but I can't tell if it's like a weird kind of artsy deal. And that kind of shit just is not usually my thing. Oh, way to go back in the cover, you fucking asshole. Um, I was wondering what you guys thought if anybody had seen it, because I don't really do horror a lot, obviously. And artsy, like weird horror sounds less interesting to me. But I know it's a classic. Oh, it's not out in Japan? Damn. My wife wanted to see it. My wife wanted to see it. And I was like, well, why don't we see if we can find like the first 15 minutes online? And then if we like it, we'll just go, we'll just go to the theater and see it. And I couldn't find it. And we ended up just not going. Because just didn't feel like it that night. And I've heard like some people seem to think it's really boring, but well made, and some people think it's like one of the best movies, seemingly of the last like few years. So it seems to be kind of a polarizing movie, but it's also odd in the sense that not many people would have seen it. It sounds like even in my theater, it only had like I want to say three or four screenings the day that it came out. Like that Thursday and Friday. I'm curious about how Michael will turn out. It's a lot to cover in such a short time. Michael, is that part of something I just mentioned? Oh, is that maybe Severance that I was talking about? Because I mentioned a few shows like kind of back to back, and you guys have a slight lag. And then you guys have a slight lag, and I'm pretty sure the chat has a slight lag also. Return to Silent Hill looks to be on the 2025 schedule. It's about James by the description. Huh. I actually didn't even know there was a Silent Hill like series of movies. I remember the one movie came out, I thought it was a while back. And oh, Michael Jackson biopic. I got you. How the fuck have I not heard about that? Here, let me see. Jay asked if I like Robert Eggers films. Let me check real quick and make sure I'm thinking of the right movies. Because I feel like I've definitely, I've heard his name, obviously. I'm trying to think like what his movies consist of. Okay. So The Lighthouse, no, I did not like. I thought it was way too weird. The Witch, I never saw. It's another one I heard was boring or super scary. The Northman, I thought was okay, but again, kind of artsy for me. And then Woodlands Darkened Days, Bewitched, I've never even heard of. And then I'm just looking at this IMDb. There's Brothers and Over the Bridge, which I hadn't even heard of. So it looks like overall, no, I don't. Okay, I can skip Silent Hill Revelations. Yeah, okay, yeah, I was just looking, Mr. Divine. Yeah, so like the Lighthouse, I thought it was really well acted and stuff. I just did not. It was just too weird. So if Nosferatu is in that vein, then it's really hard to imagine I would like it or really have any interest in it. Because in some ways, it's kind of unfair to like shit on a movie that you don't have any interest in. Like I really try to avoid that. Oh, okay. Woodland Dark is just a documentary he appears in. I got you. Yeah, I was just glancing real quick at the Google results. But yeah, I mean, it seems like he's pretty well liked, but maybe just not for me. Which is, whatever. I mean, I'd probably say the same thing about someone um, like Stephen King or somebody. Like I'm not a horror guy, so like Shawshank is really good, but like it, not really my thing. It's perfectly well made, but I'm just not gonna. Even if I can appreciate a movie being well made, I'm still not gonna necessarily enjoy it. So it's like, why would I subject myself to that? Niche, yeah, yeah, which is fine. I mean, if that's your thing and people dig it, good for you. I mean, he's only 40, so he's doing pretty well for himself. It seems like. Well, even when I say weird though, it depends on what kind of weird. Like, because well, first of all, obviously I watch anime, and depending on who you ask, anime is weird as shit. And there's definitely anime that I would call weird as shit too, right? But it just depends. Like, I don't know if you guys have ever seen the movie Ultraviolet with Mila Jovovich. It's a really shitty movie, but I fucking have so much fun watching it. I don't care, and it is like everything that I've ever criticized is probably in that movie. Like it's a crazy CGI fest. There's really bad fucking dialogue. You know, the fights are pretty nonsensical and like hyper stylized because it's kind of supposed to look like an anime almost. Like everything I've ever shat on is in that movie, and I've watched it probably 20 times. I think it's one of the few DVDs that I still have sitting on my shelf. Because every once in a while I'll just throw it in, like to go to bed or something, and just leave it on. Or I'll put it on and read a book. Yes, Jay knows. It's a terrible movie. Yeah. So that's what I was gonna say. Is even when I say weird, it's really gonna depend on the type. Like Black Swan is also the type of weird that I'm not into. Oh God, Mr. Divine said I'm looking forward to the new Avatar movie, and I definitely have a costume in my house. You know what's funny is the first movie I was like, it's okay. It was really expensive Pocahontas, which at the time, that movie got like obviously a ton of praise, made all the money. I mean, it was the highest grossing movie for fucking ever. It might actually still be because I think Endgame beat it, and then they might have done like a re-release for a bit to be petty. I can't remember now. And either way, so the second one, my wife was like, "Do you want to go?" And I was like, "Not really. That shit's like 3 hours long." Like, and I didn't really like the first one that much. Like, I didn't find it particularly original. Sam Worthington, no idea how he got famous. The dude has like about as much charisma on screen as I would. And so I was like, "No, I'm good." So we have an HBO Max login again from an in-law. Waited, the 1 month for it to come out. And we watched it for it might have been 15 minutes. And I didn't really want to watch it, but she kind of wanted to. And she was the one who was like, "This looks like a fucking video game. Can we just turn this off?" And I was like, "Okay." Never watched it. I thought it looked like absolute shit. I mean, maybe the visuals look good in theater because of, like technical shit that I'm nowhere near qualified enough to talk about. But well, it's weird because so I just for me like that movie is just clearly not for me, and yet they somehow just keep raking in fucking billions. So I mean, somebody's seeing them, right? I mean, I don't I don't know who though, because I've never even heard anyone talk about them outside of the theater. Like I heard people be like, "Oh, did you see it?" Like, yeah, it was pretty good, and then literally never heard from it again. Like even the people that seem to like it or say they liked it. Gotta watch it in IMAX in 3D. God, that's what I'm saying. Like maybe it does look good in theater, but watching it at home, I was like, this looks like ass. I was actually really surprised because people were so like praising the visuals so much. I was like, it must look like amazing. But movies using CG now, man, they age so fast. The ones that are really heavy in it, like even if you go back and watch Guardians 1, well at this point probably 3 also, just like 6 months later, they look rough, I think. And I don't know if there's really much you can do about it. The only movies that I've seen that probably hold up are the Planet of the Apes movies. And those are like, I don't understand why they look so good, but they all look crazy good. So Mr. Devine says he thinks Avatar jump-started Sam Worthington's career. He was the action guy for a time. Well, that's kind of what I mean is he was in like Wrath of the Titans. He's been in a few things, and every time I see him in a movie, I'm like, oh man, this movie's going to be shit. Like, I just don't think he's a very good actor. I mean, does he do his own stunts and stuff? Maybe that's why he keeps getting roles. I don't know. Because I'm trying to think. I don't remember his movies being particularly like stunt heavy or anything. Are they? Or maybe it's just not apparent. I don't know. But there's some actors that every time I see one, I'm just like, oh, so it's going to be dog shit then. I'm trying to think who else I would put into that category. I mean, honestly, kind of Pedro Pascal. I know people like the Last of Us TV show, but he's one that when I see him in a movie, I'm like, ugh. Like, not really looking forward to it. I mean, honestly, as hot as she is, Natalie Portman's kind of that way for me. The Rock, yeah, that's a good one, Mr. Divine. The Rock is definitely one. Like, as soon as you see The Rock, you're like, oh, generic action movie where he plays himself and his background is like special forces or injured NFL player or something. Because it has to be acknowledged that he's like a giant fucking human. Yeah, you know what's funny is Red One and fucking Jumanji are probably the best recent things that he's done, and both of those are like perfectly fine to watch on streaming. When you don't have shit else going on. Yeah, there's definitely a handful of those actors there that as soon as I see that they're in it, I'm like, ugh. And The Rock probably is like the best one because he's just everything he's in is just him playing himself. He's gonna beat some people up. Like it's not gonna be some deep ass movie. It's gonna be a shitty popcorn movie. I mean, even though I think he's a better actor, what's his face from Craven is kind of approaching that territory for me too. Austin. I wanted to say Austin Taylor Johnson. What's his fucking name? I'm blanking on it right now. I'm not looking at my computer. Yeah, and the man takes 1/3 of the budget. Yeah, did you guys ever read that shit about his behavior on the Red One set, the Christmas movie that just came out with him and Aaron Taylor Johnson? Thank you. I think I was blending him and Austin Butler, which actually Austin Butler is a good actor, and so far I think he's mostly done okay stuff. Like the Elvis movie seemed pretty well liked. Dune 2 was overall well received, even though I thought it was kind of overrated. God damn it. The Bike Riders movie, um, I thought was good, even though it didn't really make any money. And it was an interesting true story, quote unquote true story, right? Seriously? I didn't get a damn checkpoint in all that fucking fighting? Are you fucking kidding me? Um, oh yeah, the pee bottles. Yeah, so apparently he was showing up like hours late to set every day, and the budget ended up ballooning to like 275 million or some crazy shit. Like way, just blew out the budget, and they blamed him for a lot of it, and said he was causing conflicts on set and all that shit. Because obviously, if you're remotely professional, you expect people to be on time to fucking work. Yeah, I don't understand. I guess the thing I don't understand with The Rock is like um how can you justify paying somebody like that 10, $15 million a movie when they're also making demands and apparently a giant asshole to work with, Like, it's one thing to say, okay, we're gonna pay whatever, Tom Cruise, Leonardo DiCaprio, this much money because they're just a box office draw. They're going to give it everything they have, and we believe in them. It's another thing to be like, yeah, we're going to pay this guy who demands a full gym, acts like a total asshole, is always late to set. Like, why would you do that? What's up, Shag? Did I hear that he came crawling back to the Fast and Furious franchise? No, I didn't. Is that for real? He did. I Are they still going? I feel like I haven't seen a preview for one of those in a while, but maybe I just been missing them. Because that's a franchise that I have never given a shit about. Like, I paid no attention to Fast and Furious. Huh. Um, why would he even want to go back there? He's like rich. I mean, he's rich and it feels like he's constantly in stuff. It's not like he's starved for work or anything. Or at least as far as I can tell. I mean, maybe his maybe his work ethic stuff is starting to bite him in the ass. Jeez. So Mr. Devine says the movies are going and Vin Diesel post him getting the Rock back for the next one. Wait, so they're not getting Vin Diesel back, but they're getting the Rock back, or they're getting both back, and him and Vin Diesel made up? Because I heard there was drama between them too, but I thought Vin Diesel was the source. His movie's bomb. He needs a win. Yeah, after Black, that's what I was saying. Is like why would you compromise for a guy who doesn't really make money at the box office and acts like an asshole? And I've heard he does crazy demands for like full gyms and whatever special trailers, and they're getting both back. Okay. Well, yeah, I guess Vin Diesel doesn't have shit else going on, does he? Vin Diesel's probably just sitting at home like, is it too soon for number 12 or whatever number they're on? Which, maybe they'll do what is it, Riddick or whatever? They can do another one of those. Get him some work again. He's got to be getting up there, though. I mean, him and The Rock both are what? The Rock, I think, is like mid 50s. And Vin Diesel's got to be, I think, around the same age. I mean, neither one is, you know, a fucking spring chicken. I mean, I also, There's some movie franchises that I'm like, I get the appeal. And then there's some that I'm like, is there really an audience for this? Or is this some kind of like very elaborate money laundering thing, or is like the streaming services overpaying for all these movies? Like it just feels fishy. And Fast and Furious is one of those that just feels like it's just so dumb that I don't get it, I guess. Vin Diesel's the producer and is steering the franchise. They bump heads on the direction, but they're now friends, quote unquote, and The Rock's gonna be back in it. Wow. I mean, I know the one where the one dude died, like right like before the movie came out. I think that one made like 800 million or something, or 900 million. But the rest of them, it sounds like. I mean, I guess they're making something. They must be making like. They must be keeping the budget reasonable. Well, comparatively, like 150 million or something. And then the movies make like 500-600 million, and they're like good to go. Yeah, yeah. I mean, you're right. The box office. Well, I was gonna say it doesn't lie, but eh, mostly doesn't lie. But yeah, it's bizarre for sure. But yeah, it doesn't seem like there's really anything to look forward to for the next couple months, as far as I'm aware. Like Superman might be the first big thing. I know we're getting oh shit, I just lost it. Oh, Mission Impossible, I'm looking forward to. But that's another one where they've just completely blown out the budget to where it needs to make probably $1 billion just to break even. Because they had like a sub explosion or something. The budget was already pretty big, obviously with all the stunts that Tom Cruise does. And then it got delayed because of these sub repairs, and I don't know if he got hurt again. Like that, I think the budget is up to 300 million or something, maybe over that. And then who knows for marketing, right? No, Shag. Actually, I was talking about that before you popped in. Um, that I've heard Severance was good, but don't know anything about it. But beyond that, that's what I was saying. Is like that and Silo, I heard were good on Apple, but I have Apple. I just hardly ever watch anything on there. I think the only show that I've watched on there has been Ted Lasso, and then I watched Monarch, which Monarch obviously was just miserable. Fast X budget 340 million, made 704 million. See, that's what makes me wonder if that like, now the budgets are getting too out of control for them too. It's directed by Ben Stiller. Yeah, Ben Stiller is a surprisingly good director. Oh, so you didn't like Silo, huh? I think you're the first person I've heard say that. But I was gonna say that Mr. Divine was even that much like making 700 million. That movie lost money for sure, because you have to assume they're getting about half the box office roughly. So right there, you're at 350, and then I'm sure they spent 150 million on marketing. I mean, those movies feel like they're marketed, out the ass. Also, I don't know if any of you guys play Mass Effect. I'm playing the like a modded version right now, which is why I have all this access to kind of weird shit that, you know, you might not have seen before if you just played the regular version. Or, I mean, I'm not even sure you guys pay attention when I'm playing, but on the off chance that you are. How come you didn't like Silo, Shag? Just out of curiosity, because I've actually only heard that it was good. I've never actually heard any of the details other than it's about people living underground or something along those lines. I mean, I assume that was where the name came from. Was, you know, they're living in a silo. Oh, that's another one. That's a weird one. Mr. Divine asked if I thought there was any chance of Happy Gilmore 2 being good. To me, a Happy Gilmore 2 sequel, um, that I would wager if I had to that it'll be one of those movies that has a pretty high floor, but also kind of a low ceiling. Like I would be shocked if it was like really bad, but I would also say there's almost no chance of it being good either. I think it'll be just another one of those movies that is just fine to see, and then you'll forget about it and just kind of never give a shit again. Like that's how the Happy Gilmore 2 strikes me. Kind of like Beetlejuice. Like where, there's an off chance that it could be horrendous, but there's almost no chance of it being really good. So that's kind of my thoughts on it. I think when you're looking at like really bad sequels, I feel like that applies more to oh, huh. That's interesting. Shag says that for Silo, nothing really happens. The characters aren't interesting. Everything's just kind of predictable and woke. Huh. I'd have to see it then because you're the first person I've heard say that. I'm trying to think of a movie that I think would have like a really bad. Well, I guess Joker 2 would be the example of the sequel will likely be really bad. Well, I thought the Joker 2 sequel would be okay, and it ended up being horrendous. But there was also almost no chance of it being really good. And I mean, at this point, can anyone have any confidence in any kind of sequel? Like seriously, how can you believe? After all the sequels and shit that we've seen at this point, that any sequel that we get will be anything beyond, average at best to nostalgia bait to absolute dog shit that makes you wonder if the creators actually even understood the original property, I like Squid Game season 2. I know a lot of people seem to be kind of all over the place with it. I enjoyed it. It's definitely a drop off, and I'm hoping that that's because they broke it into part 1, part 2. But it could just end up being that part 3 sucks. And then, if part 3 sucks, part 2 is going to be essentially have no rewatch value, Yeah, the last episode definitely has issues, but Mr. Divine says he loves to watch shows and movies where a black woman needs to remind me that she's oppressed and lives in America. # bless. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I guess we'll see. Hopefully there'll be some surprises. As much as I shit on Doom Prophecy every video, overall it was just bland and not great. I didn't think it was horrible, but it just wasn't a good show. Obviously, the Penguin was a pleasant surprise. Arcane Season 2 was a huge disappointment. So at this point, predicting things is kind of just like, might as well be throwing darts. Because I actually said before it came out, like, who the fuck wants a Penguin show? This Colin Farrell in a fat suit that showed up for 10 minutes in the Batman movie, which I didn't even think was particularly good to begin with. And for many people, I think it ended up being their favorite show of the year. So I think I'm going to wrap up here. I don't want to go very long today. Gotta get back to regular work schedule tomorrow, which sucks. And also, there's just not a lot to talk about right now. So, maybe I'll, I don't know. I don't really have a plan for videos right now. The only thing coming out is Skeleton Crew that I'm watching. And then I've been watching Hunter x Hunter, but the next arc is like 60 episodes. And now that I'm going back to work, I don't know how long it's going to take me to get through that. And, yeah, I mean, I guess maybe I'll get caught up on the member request, and I don't know. Maybe I'll make some videos about older shows, or maybe a couple of longer videos that I wanted to make and kind of stopped partway through because of time. I don't really know right now. I just have to see how I feel. I don't want to promise anything because, I could go back to work and then just be exhausted every day when I come home and not really feel like watching anything or making a video. But, hopefully you guys had a good New Year's. Good luck on your resolutions, everybody. I'm assuming everyone wants to lose weight and make more money. And it's everybody's New Year's resolution. So, yeah, I'll leave it here for this one. Mr. Divine, just let me know what you, when you think you remember requests, what you want it to be. I try to limit it to one anime core in length. So if you want me to do like for instance, Tyler asked me to do a season of Westwood or Deadwood. You already lost? Yeah. Tyler wanted me to do a season of Deadwood, which is 10 hours. So I just said, that's fine. I can do it if you're okay with it being 2 months of your membership. Because I had to keep some kind of time constraint on it. Otherwise, I'll get people being like, you should watch, Supernatural, which is 15 seasons of 24, 45-minute episodes. So obviously any movie is fine. Jay asked me to do a comparison of 2 movies a couple months ago. That was fine. Even though I fucked it up and had to watch 3 movies. That was my fault. Okay. Yeah, just let me know in a comment. And mainly or Discord if you feel like downloading it. Just make sure that I acknowledge it. Because YouTube doesn't always notify me of comments. Like, there's a guy, Kaiju, that comments on a lot of my stuff. They put a chick in it and made it lame and gay. So unless I manually search the comments, I won't see that comment a lot. I'm assuming because the word gay is in it. But then there's times where there's nothing offensive in it. I just don't get notified. So as long as I respond, you'll know that I saw it. Just, if I don't respond, then just put it in another video also. I mean, hey, what's up, Tyler? I'm actually just leaving. So, hope you had a good New Year's. I'll see you guys later. Whoops.